Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News, and my name is Bahram Gaffarov. To discuss the issues of long-term strategy of economic reforms, the President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, received his advisor on economic development, good governance and international cooperation, Soma Chakrabarti. Chakrabarti, ex-president at EBRD, was appointed to this position in September 2020.
The sides considered the proposals of the advisor on the preparation of a strategy for economic reforms in Uzbekistan for the long term, improving the system of public administration, and expanding mutually beneficial relations between Uzbekistan and foreign partners. Special attention was paid to the improvement of the investment climate and business environment, the transformation of enterprises with a state share, and the training of highly qualified personnel.
Uzbek Foreign Minister Abdulaziz Kamilov, as part of his trip to Russia on Tuesday, invited his Russian colleague Sergei Lavrov to participate in the international conference on the interconnection between Central and South Asia scheduled for July, and expressed support for Russia's efforts aimed at security promotion in the regions.
We support Russia's involvement, active participation in ensuring security and stability in our region. We are ready to cooperate in this regard. I invited Sergei Viktorovich to take part in July in an international conference that will be devoted to the strengthening of interconnection between Central and South Asia, Kamilov said at a press conference after a meeting with Lavrov. The minister expressed hope that Afghanistan would also participate in the conference and would enhance cooperation with the regional countries. And we hope that Afghanistan will be actively involved in this process. These, in our opinion, will allow us to solve two important tasks. Firstly, to strengthen economic cooperation, the involvement of Afghanistan in economic and regional ties, and second, to promote peace and stability in this region, Kamilov said. Lavrov added that Russia would do its best to ensure that the conference will be a success. We have studied with great interest the details of the Uzbek initiative, the new initiative, this summer's international conference, Central and South Asia regional interconnection, challenges and opportunities. Mr. Minister kindly invited me to participate in this event, and we will definitely help to make it successful and lead to practical results, Lavrov said. He also touched upon Uzbekistan's role in Euro-Asian Economic Union. We welcome the energetic and effective contribution of Uzbekistan to the work of our common integration associations. I would like to once again congratulate my colleagues on the successful chairmanship of the CIS in 2020. We welcome joining Uzbekistan into the EEU as an observer. We are confident that Tashkent will benefit from integration with the organization. In turn, we are ready to provide our Uzbek friends with practical assistance in developing relations with EEU, he noted. Ex-Soviet states Russia and Uzbekistan have had diplomatic relations since 1992. The volume of bilateral trade between the countries reached $5.6 billion in 2020, according to the Uzbek Committee on Statistics.
Uzbek car manufacturer Uzauto Motors plans to delay the delivery time of manufactured cars by up to 2 months. The company's representatives told journalists during a press tour on March 2nd. The company cited worldwide shortage of semiconductors as the reason.
Interruptions in the supply of chips and disruption of logistics chains have already caused the closure of a number of car factories, which maximally reduced the purchase of microprocessors in early 2020 at the dawn of coronavirus lockdowns, the company said. The problem also affected Uzauto Motors, in particular the production plans for the second quarter of 2021, it added. On the same day, Uzauto Motors announced the resumption of sales of Spark, Nexia, Cobalt and Lachetti models from March the 3rd, sales of which were suspended on February 12th. However, due to the current situation, the delivery time will be extended by up to 2 months. The situation on semiconductors is under the control of the management of Uzauto Motors. This allows us to get out from the global shortage of chips with minimal losses and to perform all commitments to customers under existing contracts, the management of the plant said. It plans to use funds received under the new contracts for the purchase of raw materials and components to ensure the continuous production of cars.
Justice Ministry of Uzbekistan has approved the 2021 action plan to introduce gender-responsive regulatory impact assessment system developed in close collaboration with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the National Commission on Gender Equality.
According to EBRD, this is a revolutionary development for the country in Central Asia, as Uzbekistan is set to become the first state in the region to introduce gender lens, a specialized tool which would investigate how new regulations may increase, maintain, or reduce inequalities between men and women. The EBRD and Uzbekistan policy agenda towards the promotion of female entrepreneurship has supported the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative. The funds are to be used to develop training platforms, online tools, and resources designed to boost the implementation of GREA among civil servants and improve the dialogue between the country's civil society, the authorities, and other stakeholders.
Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan intend to further intensify cooperation in agriculture. The agreement was reached when the ambassador of Uzbekistan, Bahram Ashrafkhanov, met with the Azerbaijani Minister of Agriculture, Inam Karimov. The meeting presented detailed information about the success of Uzbekistan in the agricultural sector, including information on the main essence and goals of strategy for the development of agriculture of Uzbekistan for 2020 and 2030. The Azerbaijani side highly appreciated the success of Uzbekistan. An agreement was reached on further enhancing cooperative ties between the two nations. Uzbekistan intends to open large-scale pharmaceutical cluster at the vicinity of its capital. Tashkent Pharma Park will run a pharmaceutical technical university and will have industrial zone where medicines, medical devices and equipment will be produced. The initiative was put forward by the country's President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and the Cabinet of Ministers. The Reconstruction and Development Fund is to allocate $50 million for the project. The cluster is expected to introduce innovations in the industry and develop ties with foreign educational institutions and research centers. Uzbekistan ambassador to the USA, Javlan Vahabov, held talks with General Daniel Hawkinson, the 29th Chief of U.S. National Guard Bureau, to discuss the prospects for bilateral cooperation. The event was also attended by General Jensen Boyles, Distinguished Commander of the Mississippi National Guard.
The National Guard of Uzbekistan, part of the country's armed forces, was launched in August 2017. Some of its main functions include ensuring public and state security, as well as safety of foreign diplomatic and consular missions and representatives. In February 2021, Uzbekistan's National Guard Security Service was reorganized into the main directorate of the National Guard Security and gained more authority in the implementation of security measures. Besides, agency's employees receive additional benefits. The agency conducts regular meetings with international partners. For instance, in February, the department held talks with military representatives from South Korea, Italy, United Kingdom, Russia, and Turkey. Besides, joint training has been held with American armed forces. United States National Guard is the oldest paramilitary formation in the United States and was formed in 1636. According to the U.S. General, the department accepts some 60,000 new trainees annually. In case of mobilization or state of emergency, the units join the country's regular troops. In addition, the governors of all U.S. regions attracted some 42,000 troops to fight COVID-19. National Guardsmen help local authorities in delivery of medicines and food, as well as in testing and vaccination program across the country. Hawkinson also emphasized an ongoing partnership between Mississippi National Guard and the Ministry of Defense of Uzbekistan. The agencies established relationships in 2012. Earlier, the Pentagon designated the State Defense Force of Mississippi as partner of the Ministry of Defense of Uzbekistan. The commander of Mississippi National Guard, General Jensen Boyles, said he was honored to be received by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev in September 2018. The meeting laid the foundation for bringing Uzbek-Mississippi relations to a more intense level. In addition, the cities of Zarafshan and Clinton became the third city relationship between the two countries. According to Uzbek diplomatic mission in Washington, an agreement was reached on organizing a visit of the Republic's National Guard delegation to the U.S. as part of its anticipated participation in the annual South Strike trainings in Mississippi.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday said the country was on track to have enough vaccines for every adult by the end of May. That's 300 million doses, to be ready 2 months sooner than his original target of the end of July.
Let me say that again. When we came into office, the prior administration had contracted for not nearly enough vaccine to cover adults in America. We rectified that. This country will have enough vaccine supply, I'll say it again, for every adult in America by the end of May.
Vaccine production is getting a huge boost by a new partnership Biden announced Tuesday, in which pharmaceutical company Merck will help make rival Johnson & Johnson's single-shot COVID-19 vaccine. With 3 vaccines now available, including Pfizer and Moderna's, he said he was confident of reaching his goal of delivering 100 million COVID-19 vaccine doses in his first 100 days in office. And he stressed the importance of reopening schools, citing growing mental health concerns and the risk of widening disparities caused by the challenges of remote learning, and threw down the gauntlet to local officials.
We want every educator, school staff member, child care worker to receive at least 1 shot by the end of the month of March.
To meet that goal, Biden said the federal pharmacy program would prioritize the vaccination of pre-K through 12 educators and staff, as well as child care workers. He said he's still aiming to have most schools open by the end of his first 100 days, but said that required passage of the $1.9 trillion rescue plan currently working its way through Congress.
Now's not the time to let our guard down.
Biden also implored Americans to remain vigilant in their fight against the pandemic by abiding to protocols such as wearing face masks. But that advice came on the same day Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued the most sweeping rollback of restrictions of any U.S. state, saying Tuesday that most businesses in the state may open at full capacity next week, and lifting the statewide mask mandate.
Yeah, we want schools to safely reopen, period, full stop.
Speaking at a school outside Sacramento, California Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday said he reached a $6.6 billion package deal with Democratic lawmakers to fund the reopening of schools for students up to 2nd grade as the numbers of new COVID-19 cases in the state and country drop to their lowest this year.
Things are moving in the right direction. Things seem to be stabilizing. We're seeing vaccinations increase. We're seeing the positivity and case rates decrease, though we are seeing a little bit of a plateau, and one needs to be mindful of.
$2 billion would go towards paying for personal protective equipment, improved classroom ventilation, and COVID-19 testing, incentivizing schools to reopen by the end of the month. California's $6.6 billion budget package marks the latest effort by a U.S. state to get school children back in class after nearly a year confined to home learning by political leaders in the face of the coronavirus pandemic.
Single mothers in particular that are celebrating, I imagine, this day compared to many other previous days. So many of our kids and caregivers are celebrating this day because we all are united around coming back safely into the schools and helping with the social-emotional supports that our kids so desperately need.
But some school workers, like 60-year-old Martell Riley, a bus driver for the Santa Monica Malibu Unified Schools District, are nervous about schools reopening.
So we're very concerned, and we're ready to go back, but we want to make sure when we go back, we take our time. We keep, exercising the social distancing, wearing our mask.
Riley, whose first day back was last Tuesday, driving one special needs student twice a week, said he loves his job and is growing tired of sitting at home, but he wants reassurance that he will be safe at work.
As classified employees, we're part of the education system, too. So it shouldn't be like the teacher's priority. We all at the same time should be vaccinated.
The deal the Democratic governor made does not include an order for public schools to open by a certain date, and Newsom conceded that negotiations may still need to take place with teachers' unions. The proposal would make vaccinating teachers and other school employees a priority in the state, and lawmakers are expected to pass it on Thursday.
After the win in her privacy case against the Mail on Sunday, Meghan, Britain's Duchess of Sussex, wants the paper to pick up her legal costs. The Duchess was awarded £450,000 as a provisional payment. She is seeking £1.5 million in legal fees. That's about $2.1 million, with half the amount to be paid within 14 days. The paper has described the sum as disproportionate. Last month, a judge at London's High Court ruled the tabloid had breached her privacy and infringed her copyright by publishing parts of the 5-page letter she wrote to her father, Thomas Markle. She had fallen out with him on the eve of her wedding to Prince Harry. Judge Mark Warby ruled in her favour without holding a trial, saying the articles were a breach of privacy. The paper argued the Duchess had intended the letter's contents to become public and that it formed part of her media strategy. At a hearing on Tuesday, Warby refused the paper permission to appeal the decision. Warby also agreed to make an interim costs order, saying the final sum may well be considerably more than that. Her legal team has also demanded the paper hands over any copies it has of the letter and has called the judge to order the paper to publish a statement on its front page stating she had won her case, with a notice also placed on the Mail Online's homepage for not less than 6 months.
Today, the United States is announcing sanctions on 7 senior members of the Russian government.
The Biden administration on Tuesday imposed sanctions to punish Russia for what it described as Moscow's attempt to poison opposition leader Alexei Navalny with a nerve agent last year in President Joe Biden's most direct challenge yet to the Kremlin. The move marked a sharp turn away from former President Donald Trump's reluctance to confront Russian President Vladimir Putin. 7 senior members of the Russian government would be blocked from accessing their financial assets in the U.S. But it was unclear whether the 7 had U.S. assets, making it hard to judge whether the sanctions were more than symbolic. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
It was not meant to be a silver bullet or an ending to what has been a difficult relationship with Russia. We expect the relationship to continue to be a challenge. We're prepared for that. And we're neither seeking to reset our relations with Russia, nor are we seeking to escalate.
New export restrictions were also placed on businesses and other entities associated with Russia's biological and chemical agent production. Navalny, a Putin critic and political opponent, became ill on a flight in Siberia in August and was airlifted to Germany, where doctors concluded he had been poisoned with a nerve agent. The Kremlin has denied any role in his illness and said it had seen no proof he was poisoned. Navalny returned to Russia in January and was jailed February 2nd for parole violations on what he said were politically motivated charges.
We also reiterate our call for the Russian government to immediately and unconditionally release Mr. Navalny.
The U.S. sanctions are in concert with similar ones imposed by the European Union Tuesday. The Interfax news agency reported that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said earlier in the day that Russia would respond in kind to any new U.S. sanctions over Navalny.
Boeing has raised concern over the design of a jet made by its European rival Airbus. The model in question is the extra long-range version of its newest plane, the A321neo. Boeing says it could pose a fire risk due to its fuel tank. In a submission to European regulators, Boeing said the design of the fuel tank, intended to increase the plane's range, posed many potential hazards. In most jets, fuel is carried in wings and central tanks, but to meet demand for longer routes, Airbus plans to mould a tank directly into the fuselage. Its shape would follow the contours of the jet and carry more fuel. The design is crucial to the A321XLR's main marketing ploy, to be the longest range of any single-aisle jet and is due for release in 2023. Boeing's intervention is not unusual in a global system, which regularly allows manufacturers to chime in when safety rules are being interpreted. But the timing is pivotal. The US plane giant is trying to repair its image following the crisis over its 737 MAX. That plane model was grounded for almost 2 years following 2 deadly crashes. The airline industry, which has been battered by the global health crisis, is now facing tougher scrutiny. While insisting they never compete on safety, Airbus and Boeing have a record of goading each other on technical issues.
It already has some electric models coming down the production line, but now Volvo says all its cars will be fully electric by 2030. Even hybrids will be a thing of the past. The Swedish brand says it's convinced no one will want a petrol engine by the end of the decade. Volvo aims to get halfway to its goal by 2025. To get there, it will launch a new family of electric cars over the next few years. All will be sold online only and feature wireless upgrades and fixes, an approach pioneered by Tesla. The move comes as car makers face emissions targets in Europe and China and fossil fuel bans in some countries. Last month, Ford said its lineup in Europe would be fully electric by 2030. Other brands, including Jaguar and Bentley, have made similar pledges. Now, going electric is an expensive process for car makers, which have to totally rethink design and production. It also spells upheaval and maybe job losses for suppliers, as EVs require far fewer parts than conventional vehicles. But Volvo says the move will ultimately allow it to radically reduce the complexity of its model lineup.
Stocks on Wall Street ended Tuesday lower, a day after a blockbuster rally that saw the S&P 500 have its best day since June. The Dow dropped nearly 150 points while the S&P also fell. And the Nasdaq lost 1.7% as Apple, Facebook, Tesla, and other big technology names tumbled. The tech-heavy index's fall came as investors continued to rotate out of stocks that outperformed due to the health crisis and into others viewed as likely to do well as the economy recovers, such as energy and travel stocks. Nicholas Kolas of DataTrack Research says given history, the recent volatility in markets is par for the course.
This one is playing very much true to form with past cycles. We tend to get initially a big surge off the bottom when we first see fiscal stimulus. We got all of that last year. It was a little bit heavily skewed towards technology because of the unique nature of what happened with the pandemic. But it is the kind of classic lift off the bottom that we always get. At this point in the cycle, call it 6 to 12 to 10, even a year on from the bottom, we do get these first rumblings of inflation that begins to lift interest rates, and the market begins to go a little bit wobbly. The same exact thing happened virtually to the day during the 2010 recovery after the 2009 crisis.
Stocks on the move included Target, which said it will invest $4 billion annually over the next several years as the big box retailer upgrades stores and strengthens its online business. Shares have risen sharply over the past year, but fell nearly 7% on Tuesday on the expected hit to margins. Meanwhile, mortgage provider Rocket Companies bucked the trend, skyrocketing as much as 70% as the heavily shorted stock drew interest on Twitter and Reddit's popular discussion board, Wall Street Bets.
So far, these have been the latest news for today. Goodbye. Take care.